Dear learners, welcome to a discussion on understanding knowledge society. In this discussion, we will specifically talk about the advancements of knowledge society in the contemporary world. We will spell out the key dimensions of knowledge society, what are the backdrops it requires, what are the elements of knowledge society. Then we will talk about the socio-economic and the political backdrop for the emergence of knowledge society. Then we will talk about the socio-cultural dynamics, the dynamics of work participation, mobility and social integration in the knowledge society. As we understand, the relationship between human being and society quite intrinsic. Quite intrinsic in that way, a society is known in terms of the kind of activities done by the people, done by the man themselves. So a society is reflective of the activities done by human being. Now let us come to this stage how we define, narrate or describe man or human being or people in the society. We usually talk about man is a social animal. Then we talk about man is a rational animal. We also keep on talking about man also a producing animal. When we talk about man as an animal, as a rational animal, as a producing animal, we talk about man in a network of social relationship, a network of activities, social, economic and political activities. And these activities, when we take into consideration the activities are linked to the production and distribution activities of the society. When we talk about the production activities, usually we talk about man, a producing animal, means man is a producing animal, producing what? Producing goods and services. So when the productive element we have taken into consideration, we talk about in terms of the production of goods and services. But there is something beyond that. That is, man not only produces goods and services, man also produces knowledge. Man also produces information. Man also produces data. Man also produces ideas. Host of activities linked to the knowledge that is linked to the production activities. But these activities of production, that is the knowledge production activities, have been kept away from the economic activities because knowledge has widely been considered to belong to the domain of philosophy. It is not long, initially it is thought of it is not linked to economy, rather it is linked to the domain of philosophy. Usually it is talked about man of wisdom. When you talk about the man of wisdom, we talk about a people who is having enormous command over data, information, ideas, knowledge. Then we talk about those people as the man of wisdom. So man of wisdom is not taken into consideration, especially in Indian context, to be an economic category, rather it is a non-economic category. But when we talk about knowledge economy, we talk about a process, engagement of human being for the production, dissemination of knowledge. Now, by doing that, let us talk about that how this production and dissemination of knowledge link to the social, economic and political progression in the society. When we talk about the social, economic and political progression, we have widely talked about that is social transformation. Those are widely guided by technological forces. Social invention and social development is linked to varieties of discoveries in the society. So when we talk about social progression and social development, we talk about the social transition, we usually talk about these are founded on the economic structure of the society, the technological structure of the society, and also we talk about in terms of the change in the organization of production. By saying so, what we have taken into consideration, the factors of production into consideration, that is land, labor, capital and organization. These are widely quantified in economic terms. But beyond that, there is also another factor of production, that is the knowledge as a factor of production. Now, at this stage, let us describe, spend a little bit of time, what do you mean by knowledge? You will be encountering this question widely, what do you mean by knowledge? Knowledge is founded on varieties of ideas, the data, the information, ideas, This leads to the development of knowledge. Now, how we will go about it? We may talk about initially too big about just some ideas. All ideas are not quantified. Ideas are to be quantified and qualified. When an idea becomes qualified and quantified, it becomes data. When data are arranged in particular order, it becomes information. When the informations are put in operation, it becomes knowledge. When this all activities, all interlinked activities, interlinked phenomenon, all the processes, that is generation of ideas, generation of data, generation of information, and transformation of all those three into the categories of application, it becomes knowledge. Means ultimately it's linked to economic categorization of knowledge. So what we are talking about, a kind of a product which is commoditized, which is having an economic value like other factor of production. Land is a factor of production. Labor is a factor of production. Organization is a factor of production. Capital is a factor of production. Similarly, knowledge is also a factor of production, and how it is considered, I'll come little later. Now, what we find gradually, when we look into the social progression, we have always taken into consideration the changing pattern of work participation in terms of earlier factors of production, land, labor, capital, and organization. Now we put another factor to it, that is knowledge as a factor of production. By putting it, what we talk about, that is knowledge in becoming a biggest contributor, one of the biggest contributor, rather the biggest contributor in contemporary world for economic progression, for technological progression, and for the wider transformation of the society. The idea of considering knowledge as a factor of production, it was first considered by an economist, Roma, and later on it was picked up by Machav, an American economist. And what they talked about that is knowledge make a significant contribution to the economic growth of the society towards the calculation of the gross national product of a country. How it is, they calculated, and with that calculation they found that knowledge has started making a big contribution to the transformation of the economy and the society. Gradually, the whole process of argument, it started coming in with the whole process of transformation of the society. How it started coming in? They started coming in terms of new kind of factors started coming in. What are those factors? New technologies started coming in. What are those new technologies? I am coming later. They started talking about the space of growth of the economy. It became another. Then also new kind of social framework and networking, this became another. So what happened when initially Machav talked about in 1958, that is contribution of knowledge to the American economy, and he widely concluded that the contribution of knowledge, that is the production of ideas, data, information, and their application to the gross domestic product, it was roughly around 52% in 1958. By calculating that, he proved that knowledge is having wider contribution to the society. Later on in 1968, Peter Drucker, in his famous book, The Age of Continuity, Daniel Bell, in his famous The Post-Industrial Society, Toffler in his Third Wave, Manuel Castells in his Information Age, Frank Webster, the epistemic community, and many others, they talked about that it is the knowledge has been the wider mover and shaker of the contemporary economy, and by doing so, it has brought a phenomenal change in the economic order of the society. Now, at this stage, let us take the discussion at another end. Another in that way, knowledge has always been linked to the whole process of progression of human society, even though those are not counted. The whole journey of human being from the stage of savagery to barbarism to civilization, widely influenced by discovery, widely influenced by one kind of innovation by another, use of knowledge that made human being a superior creature on this earth by having the capacity to control the fire, having the capacity to invent the wheel, having the capacity to invent the pottery, having the capacity to invent the agriculture. What has happened? All those processes are linked to the application of knowledge, but knowledge was not considered that. But when you talk about those knowledge production, even though those were not considered, those are there, but those were what we call at a limited scale. But when we talk about emergence of knowledge society, we talk about mass production and mass dissemination of knowledge for the use of, for the creation of wealth and creation of employment. So what is linked? Production, dissemination and application of knowledge for the generation of wealth and employment in the society. So knowledge for the not sake of knowledge, knowledge is having an commodity value, knowledge is having an economic value, knowledge will be mass produced, not the limited production, it will be produced at a wider scale. It will be disseminated at a wider scale, it will be applied at a wider scale for the generation of wealth and employment for the people in the society. So by this whole issue of mass production and mass dissemination and mass uses of knowledge, this knowledge society distinguishes itself from the rest of the previous society. Now what is happening? When we talk about the knowledge society, we talk not only the production of the knowledge, the dissemination of knowledge, use of the knowledge, we also talk about the transportation of knowledge. We also talk about the mass usage of the knowledge, and those who use it. So what we found, we created new kind of a worker, those who were coming to the forefront of the society. In agricultural society, we have widely found a new kind of worker, that is the agricultural workers, the workers, those who are involved in the cultivation, in sowing the seed, in threshing the yield. So we find the different kind of workers, the cultivators, agricultural laborers and the tenant. In the industrial society, we find another kind of worker. What are those workers? They are the industrial workers. But in knowledge society, we find a different kind of a worker. They are the knowledge worker. They are using their mental capability for the production, dissemination and usage of knowledge in the society. When we are talking about this knowledge society, we have to keep in mind knowledge society is promoted by a varieties of factors. It has not come all of a sudden in the what we talk about in the middle of 20th century. Rather, its background started long back. When the Industrial Revolution came, Industrial Revolution took place sometime in the middle of 18th century and thereafter, and the Scientific Revolution took place. The mass production started taking place across the globe. And what happened gradually, the whole production, family-based production got dissociated from the market-based production. Production became a huge factor. So sites of production shifted from family to the market from the industrial sector. And what it was talked about, the Industrial Revolution that came in the mid 18th century, rather even in early 18th century onward, the Industrial Revolution, the Scientific Revolution, that widely it absorbed a lot of human resources, human capital and the workforces, and economic growth started booming all parts of the globe. And it was thought of that industrialization happens to be the panacea of all kind of social ills, that is unemployment, poverty, illiteracy in the society. So industrialization started thinking of that this will be whatsoever social problem, social inequality will be taken care of by the economic growth, and economic growth will be generated by industrialization, and the industrialization, that was the only one consideration. But later on, with the process of development, what the society experienced, there's a process along with the industrial production. Revolution is also going on in the production of knowledge. How it is? It started with the coming of the printing press. When the printing press started coming in, whatsoever knowledge people are producing started getting documented in the form of books, literature, newspaper, periodicals, magazines, varieties of other activities. Gradually with the printing press, we find gradually they develop new kind of communication system with the arrival of telephone. Then what we find starting from middle of the last century, a kind of a new machine started coming in. what we call the computer. Then the information and communication technologies, the mobile phone, etc. started coming in. So what happened in the background, which was already set in motion by the Industrial Revolution, that was taken further by the new kind of innovation and discoveries taking place within the industrial society itself. That is revolution in the printing press, the telephone, the mobile phone, the computer and other information and communication technologies. Along with this development, what happened? There is an enormous process of expansion of formal education, skill and training. So this is also what happened earlier. Education was limited to the limited number of the people. Now along with the industrial revolution, new educational institutions started coming in. Quality education, quality skill development, quality training, and simultaneously several institutions came in the forefront to guide and give direction to reach that education, take that education and another height of sophistication and development of human mind and capabilities. Then along with that, we find a new kind of economic order starting from the middle of the last century, what we call a new kind of economic order, that is neoliberal economic globalization. As I told, when the Industrial Revolution started taking place, the new kind of the first great transformation of the human society took place when the family got dissociated from the market forces. So the first revolution took place. And the second revolution took place perhaps in the 1930s, when we found that a big economic depression has taken place. And within this economic depression, neoliberal economic order came in. Liberal economic order came in, and that economic order started talking about enormous state intervention for the well-being of the people in the society, to take care of the education, health, etc. like this. Earlier, when the family got dissociated from the market and the market started coming in, that time also there was one kind of globalization of economy, what we call laissez-faire economy, the market-driven economy that led to the expansion of capitalism, led to the expansion of colonialism that continued till the middle of the last century. What we found in the middle of this last century, along with this educational expansion, defeat of the colonial forces, and after the Second World War, a new kind of phenomenon, the welfare state started coming in. But starting from 1980s, a new kind of economic order people started visualizing. In this new kind of economic order that is that developed out of enormous growth of education, skill and training, and revolution in information and communication technology, and simultaneously the bipolar world, the capitalist world and the communist world that collapsed with the collapse of the Berlin Wall and also dismantling of the USSR. What we find, a new kind of world order started coming in, and this widely propagated a neoliberal economic order. That neoliberal economic order that legitimized by Washington Consensus, that legitimized by World Bank, that legitimized by International Monetary Fund, that is, there should be trade across the globe. So what we find, that this phenomenon widely promoted the expansion of knowledge economy. What is that? Revolution in the printing press, television, computer and ICT, expansion of education, skill and training, and a neoliberal economic order. What they produced it, they produced an environment for the growth of service sector of the economy. In earlier phases, that is agriculture got replaced by industrial forces. Now we started looking at from the middle of the last century, that is, most of the developing world gradually switching over to the service economy. If you look into this world economic structure of the most of the developed nation of the world, you find that is most of them, in terms of participation of the labor force in the agriculture and industry has phenomenally declined, and those has been taken over by the work participation in the service sector. Simultaneously, contribution of the GDP in the service GDP widely has come from the service sector. So what we find, a phenomenal change in the economy, and we find a kind of a relationship between, a kind of a linear relationship between higher the rate of economic education, Then you higher the access to the information and communication technology, then you find higher is the penetration of the service sector. So if we found these three, that is higher education, higher access to the technology is linked to the higher participation in the GDP, that is also positively linked to the higher economic growth, that is higher extent of per annum gross domestic or the gross national product. So this started coming in gradually, and gradually with the coming in all this phenomenon, that is revolution in the ICTs, revolution in the expansion of education, neoliberal economic order, expansion of the service sector, what we found, the site of production has changed. How the site of production has changed? Site of production has shifted from the land, shifted from the factory to the human mind. So what is happening? This knowledge economy, taking into consideration the site of production, knowledge is produced not in land. Knowledge is produced not in the factory, knowledge is produced in human mind. That is the ultimate choice, that rejuvenate human mind to be a productive animal. That is, man produces knowledge. By producing knowledge, man is trying to give a different shape of the society. As in earlier cases, we are trying to know in terms of man's engagement with the production of agricultural produce, agricultural society, man's engagement with the industrial society in terms of its industrial product. Now, man's engagement with the knowledge production, we find man is giving a shape, a new shape, a remodeling the society in terms of knowledge society. So what we find, the whole site of production is shifted. Now, what is important at this stage to look into, what we talk about, two kind of knowledge. One is a tacit knowledge, another is explicit knowledge. The tacit knowledge is that which is already available in a society, and explicit knowledge is that which is already available for use. One is the potential, another is the potentiality is exploited for the use. So what we find, that is human being, knowledge society consider human being to be the ultimate resource. It's not a liability. When it considers the ultimate resource, that is, it talks about in terms of transforming human mind to be a resource, not to remain as a liability, given them appropriate education and training, so they can have the choice to select and make a choice of their livelihood, choice of their work, choice of their rights and freedom within the society. Now, at this stage, before we go further, let us make a comparative discussion of these three types of society. What are the key resources of this society, and what are the key power, key major product, and how it is different from each other. If we talk about agricultural society, the key resources of the agricultural society is the natural resource, that is the land, that is the forest. Land, forest, water, these are the key resources of the agricultural society. If we look into the industrial society, we talk in terms of the physical resources. What are those physical resources? That is, it is the physical labor. It is the coal, another physical resource. Then we find land is another resource. So what we find, all those physical labor, physical resources are the component of the industrial society. Then we look at the knowledge society. It is the mental capability. It is the intellectual capability. So that is the main capability of the key resources of these three societies. So gradually human society is shifting from the natural resources to physical resources, physical labor, from physical labor to the mental and intellectual labor. Then the key power of the knowledge of these three types of society. Key resources of agricultural society is the land and animal. Industrial society is the steam engine, and the knowledge society, it is the internet. It is because you can't think of a knowledge society without having access over the internet and its other paraphernalia, that is a computer, laptop, mobile phone, and so many other kind of platforms, the WhatsApp, the Facebook, the email, Instagram, so many other Twitters, the blogs. These are the phenomena, these are the key resources of this knowledge society. Now, the major product of these three types of society. The agricultural societies made of products are the food items and other related basic services. It is the industrial society, the industrial goods and the services that we find in terms of the varieties of paraphernalia and the instrument available in the society. And the knowledge society, major products are the data, the information, the knowledge and the ideas. So see how these three types of society gradually shifted in terms of its own kind of production. That is, agricultural society is having one variety of product, industrial society is having one variety, and the knowledge society is having another. Now, what are the market, expansion of the market? Agricultural society is widely guided by the localized market. It is the local product. But the industrial society, it is maybe it has gone up to national level, and many of the time it is the world market. It has gone to the colonial market. It is widely guided by the whole framework of nationalism and the national market. But when in knowledge society, we talk about the global society, because it is the trade will go on across the globe. It is not that that is data will remain confined to only within the one localized area or the nation territory within the sovereign boundary. We find that data, information and knowledge, these are traded across the globe without having much concern of the national boundary. Now the major sources of GDP in this three kind of society, we find the major source, the primary source, that is agricultural society, industrial society, the secondary sector, and the knowledge society, that is the tertiary sector, that is the major sources of their economy. Now, see the social identities of these three types of societies. It is quite important. The social identities in the agricultural society is quite widely communitarian identity. It is guided by in terms of localized community, the village community, the caste, ethnicity, those are the communities, the tribes. In the industrial society, it is mostly a class identity. It is a secular kind of identity. The professional groups, they identify their kind of identities. In the knowledge society, we find it is a kind of a multiple kind of identities. Those identities not localized, communitarian, it is a global. And sometimes it is also local. So it is a mix of varieties of identities that intersect, having at times a bit communitarian element, at times secular element. But what is important is that all identities are having a global kind of manifestation. But the forms of mobility in these three types of society, we find that is agricultural society is slow, in the industrial society quite fast, and in the knowledge society, it is very fast. So we find the space of social mobility in these three societies are to be quite different. Now, what we find that is when this knowledge society appeared in the Western world, starting from late 1950s and early 1960s, it came as a kind of a hope to redress all kind of economic, political and cultural imbalances in the society. The industrial society, with a vast industrial production, it created a lot of social inequality, lot of pollution in the society, lot of crimes, lot of social imbalances. People thought that when the knowledge society is standing in the horizon, it is bringing a new kind of a hope in the society. That hope will be, it is a classless society, it will be egalitarian society, and the whatsoever social and political imbalances are there, that will be reduced. It will be reduced because each and every people is the bearer of the capital. When each and everybody is becoming the bearer of the capital, nobody is supposed to remain inferior to other. It is a society having not much of a concern of hierarchy. It is a society based on capabilities, human capabilities, and will have a moral engagement, a sense of enlightened for staying in the society. So this also will replace what we call about a high-risk society to a low-risk society. So what we find, and it is widely thought of, it will be less hierarchical and more democratic, and it will be more participatory. And what it will happen, since it will ignite the human mind, power will never remain concentrated in the hand of limited few. Rather, it will transit from one place to another because it is a site of power is human mind. So adverse side, what is it is thought of widely talk about, that is adverse side is that since it is having multiple identities, people will not be able to locate themselves in a particular location. They will keep on considering themselves a half flow and half being, because it will be in terms of networking, the social relationship will not remain grounded in terms of cultural affiliation or political affiliation by a particular time or space. Rather, it will keep on moving. So what Manuel Castells talked about, it is a society widely characterized by a society of half flow and half being, and it also will create what we find over the period of time in terms of a new kind of imbalances. It has come in terms of digital rich and digital poor, that is knowledge rich and the knowledge poor, because the level of education, the expansion of the digital power has not been equal across the society. So there has been new kind of imbalances it has come in. So what we find within that, there has been the emergence of new architect of power. Within this new architect of power, with this emergence of new liberal economic globalization, what Manuel Castells widely talked about, there has been recombination of the power between the state and what he talked about the neo state, that is he used the term neo state by the new international business organization, and they are creating a new landscape of conflict. So relationship between the state and international NGOs is becoming more, because it is the international NGOs, they are trying to dictate more terms on the state in terms of, because it is the market, again it has come to the forefront to influence the power, not the political power that is influencing the market. So what has happened over the period of time, that is usually it is talked about that is pain is stronger than the sword, but what has happened over a period of time, it is sword is widely controlled by the market forces, and that is widely conditioning the whole process of development, research and production of the new knowledge in the society. So knowledge has been circumscribed within the element of economic power in the society. So knowledge has not remained a force that is liberating, as what you talked about by Manuel Castells. So what we find also widely talked about, it has brought a new kind of a shocks and disorientation in the society. Toffler widely talked about, and it has brought a new kind of a discontinuity with the past, in terms of discontinuity with the family values, the community values, discontinuity with the earlier kind of a morality. A new kind of social framework has come in. So within that, what people talked about, the arrival of a digital natives, a new variety of the young population, they look at a social phenomenon where they create a new kind of appetite, economic, social and political appetite, and that appetite has given a new kind of social framework and new kind of space when in terms of both geographical space, also in terms of speed, it is from a different kind of a society. And what we find within that, a new kind of conflicting relationship has grown up at several levels. Conflicting relationship between the market and the state, conflicting relationship between the old generation and new generation, conflicting relationship between the old knowledge and the new knowledge. But despite that, knowledge society, by enhancing and elaborating the space for the creation and dissemination of knowledge, it has emerged to be one of the most liberalizing force in the human destiny. So whatsoever we have discussed so far, to summarize, we discussed that is what are the components of knowledge society, how it has emerged over the centuries in the human society. There we talked about the key component of the knowledge society are the ICTs, information communication technology, education and human capabilities, and also neoliberal economic framework. We have also talked about the site of production, knowledge and dissemination of resources has shifted from the site of land and labor to the site of human mind. We are also talking about that is knowledge society, though it has talked about to be a liberalizing force, it is having a lot of limitation in the society. And we are also concluding with this fact that despite all those limitations, knowledge society has emerged to be one of the most liberalizing phenomena, one of the most phenomenon that will ensure liberty, equality and justice for the citizens in the society. So we end here. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.